And so getting into today's video, we do pick up with X Factor number 63. Now, in the opening pages of this book, we do pick up with Opal. Now, when it comes to Opal, she was the girlfriend to Iceman around this time in Marvel Comics. Now, for Opal, she's very upset with her parents. And the reason why? Because well, she just found out that she was adopted, that her parents are just her adoptive parents, and she has no idea why they didn't tell her until now, but also she has no idea who her biological parents are. Now, when it comes to Bobby, he's right now trying to take Opal out for her birthday to a nice dinner, but he also realized that she's going through a lot, and so he says, hey, why don't you sit down with your parents and try to figure out why they did not tell you until now that you were adopted. Maybe there is a very good reason. Now, once you have our two characters being able to arrive at the dinner site, well, they're then attacked by some cyborg samurais. Now, these samurais came here for Opal, and so they grab Bobby and they throw him right out the window. Now, by the time Bobby wakes up and able to use his powers to get back up to the top of the building, well, Opal is gone. She was taken away by those cyborg samurais, but she was able to pull off a cloth that one of them was wearing, and that cloth is going to help Iceman understand everything about what's going on with Opal. Now, when it comes to Bobby, he does head over to the X Factor base around this time in Marvel Comics, better known as the ship. Now, when it comes to the ship, it was an aircraft that was created by the Celestials, but also it's being run by an AI system. Now, when it comes to Bobby, he does head over to the ship to meet up with the rest of X Factor. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Archangel, and Beast. Now, when it comes to his team, they realize that he is very worried about what happened to Opal. But the question is, how in the world is he going to be able to get answers about what happened to his girlfriend? And then he realized his best option is to ask her parents. Now, when it comes to Bobby, when he does arrive at the home of Opal's parents, her adoptive parents, they freak out automatically about the idea of seeing Bobby because right now he's holding a cloth that belonged to that cyborg earlier. And once you have her parents see the cloth, they see the symbol on it and they realize what had happened to their daughter. Now, when it comes to Opal's adoptive mother, we kind of find out that she's actually a distant cousin to Opal's real mother. And she says, listen, Opal's parents gave us her to protect her from her grandfather. You have to understand the symbol on that cloth, it belongs to a clan in Japan, a clan that works for her grandfather. You have to say Opal right now. You don't understand how much danger she's actually in at this moment. But now we have to jump over to Japan. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with Opal meeting her grandfather. Now, remember, she just learned that she was adopted, and now she is finding out that she has a grandfather named Lord Tatsuo. Now, when it comes to Tatsuo, he is actually a leader of a clan in Japan, better known as Clan Tatsu. Now, when it comes to Tatsuo, the reason why he brought Opal back to Japan is because he wants her to marry somebody and to hopefully produce a child, and that child to be a boy to carry on his name and his clan and his entire organization. Now, when it comes to Opal, she says no automatically. She hates the idea that she's now being forced to marry somebody that she does not love. The only person she loves right now is Bobby Drake. And that is it. Now, something else I do want to mention is that there is a group of men who work for Lord Tatsuo, and they're called samurai. And I really hope I pronounced that word correctly. It's a combination of cyborg and samurai put together into one. Now, when it comes to Opal, when she does tell her grandfather no, well then she meets her real mother, who's kind of like, hey, I'm your mom. And I kind of understand why you are disagreeing in the idea of trying to give your grandfather here a grandson. Now, when it comes to Bobby, he's about to head over to Japan to save Opal. Now, before he leaves, you do have Jean Grey say that she'll go with him. Now, the reason why Jean Grey is going with him is to make sure that this man has a cool head before he caused another international incident with the X Factor team. Because let's not forget that this picks up right after the extension agenda, and our heroes just got done with one international incident. They can't afford another one, and this time being Japan. And so you have Jean Grey go with him. Now, when it comes to Iceman and Jean Grey, they realize that they can't just go over to Japan and try their best to save Opal, because if they do, most likely they could cause another international incident. And so when they do arrive into Japan, they head over to the base of another character known as Mariko Yoshida. Now, when it comes to Mariko, she first appeared back in X-Men number 118. Now, she was a love interest for Wolverine, but also the daughter to a crime lord known as Lord Shingen, who had his own clan as well in Japan. But by this point in Marvel Comics, she's now the leader of the actual clan. And her goal is to move the clan back to the side of good. No longer trying to do anything evil. But right now, her goal is to help out Iceman and Jean Grey to get Opal back from her grandfather. Now, when it comes to Opal, she hates the idea of being in Japan right now with her grandfather, a man who only wants her because he wants a grandson to carry on his family's name. Now, when it comes to Opal, she does meet other members of her family. Now, their goal is to change her, to convert her into their ways, into how their culture works in their family. But the problem is, Opal does not care, because right now, the only thing she wants to do is to go back home, to be with Bobby Drake. Now, one of the samurais does pull her to the side and say, listen, you have to understand, if you don't try to work with your grandfather, you only are going to make things harder for you and the people around you. Let me explain. So all these different members of your family who is right now trying to convert you into our ways, if they cannot do that, your granddad is going to beat them over and over and over again until you actually get your butt in line. So I'm trying to tell you right now, just please, for their sake, just follow your granddad's orders. Now, when it comes to Mariko, she does have a plan on how to save Opal. You see, when it comes to Lord Tetsuo, he's going to a sumo wrestling match with a few of his men and also Opal as well. And so for Mariko, she says, listen, I should be able to get my men in the right position to take him down, but to also save Opal as well. But Bobby and Jean Grey, you can't do anything at all. You must just sit there because, again, if you try to do something, you might cause an international incident. Now, when it comes to Iceman, he does agree, and it does seem like he is going to follow her rules. But that plan goes out the window very quickly, and let me explain why. So when it comes to Opal, she thought it would be a good idea to yell out in the middle of the crowd that she was kidnapped. Now, that could possibly help her, but here's the thing. What are these innocent people going to do when it comes to saving your life if you yell out that you are, kidnapped? But either way, when she does it, she makes her granddad very angry that he turns around and slaps her across the face. Now, when he does that, Iceman gets angry. And so now you have Bobby wanting to use his powers to save the girl he loves. But here's the problem though. You see, when it comes to Mariko, her men were not in position yet to actually help out to save Opal, but to also take down Lord Tetsuo. And so because of Iceman attacking before anyone could get ready, well, one of the samurai is able to take out Bobby Drake, but to also grab his boss in Opal and teleport the heck out of there. And so once again, Bobby Drake has lost the girl that he loves because he attacked too soon. He did not allow Mariko's men to get ready to help out. Now, getting into the next chapter, X Factor number 64, we do pick up with Iceman right now trying to leave to go save Opal. But Jean Grey is currently using her powers as a way to make sure that he does not leave, because she knows that if he goes out of his way to attack the clan, most likely he is going to die, because he's not a one-man army at this point in Marvel Comics. But for Iceman, he tells her, you don't understand, like how much I love her. I need to save her. She needs my help. And because of those words, Jean Grey lets him go. Now, when it comes to Mariko, she cannot believe that Jean Grey just allowed Iceman to go on his own. But Jean says, no, you don't understand, Iceman, that this man may go on out there on his own, but most likely he has a plan to save the woman. But now we have to pick up with Opal. Now, when it comes to Opal, we see her currently visiting where her father was buried at. Now, when it comes to Opal, she should not know where her dad was buried at. Apparently, no one was supposed to tell her at all, but her mother did. Now, by this point in the story, her mother, her biological mother, is no longer able to talk to her in private. And the reason why? Because her granddad believes that her mother might influence her to continue to be disobedient. Now, when it comes to Opal, she is confronted by Hyro. Now, when it comes to Hyro, he is one of the members who was turned into a cyborg samurai. Now, when it comes to Hyro, he wants her to understand that what she is doing is completely wrong. The whole idea of not listening to her grandfather, because she is a woman, and usually in the culture, as a woman, you are supposed to listen to the man of the house, the man of the clan. And right now, that is your grandfather. And so if he does ask you to give him a grandson, you are supposed to follow those orders. But she says, no, why should I do that? Now, it does lead into Hyro giving her her family's origin story. Now, when it comes to Opal's parents, they kind of have this Romeo and Juliet situation. Let me explain. So when it came to Opal's father, he was the son to Lord Tetsuo, but he was madly in love with Opal's mother. And that began the whole entire situation, because Opal's mother belonged to a different clan, a clan that was actually enemies with Lord Tetsuo. And so their love was forbidden. And matter of fact, in their culture, your father decides who are you going to marry. And so when it came to Lord Tetsuo, he wanted his son to marry another woman, because if he did, that clan that she belonged to and his clan would be combined and make him even more powerful in Japan. Now, when it came to Opal's father, at first, he tried his best to deny what his dad wanted, but then he realized that Lord Tetsuo could kill off Opal's mother in a heartbeat. And if he did, he would also kill off their unborn child, which was Opal. And so he had no choice but to go ahead and marry another woman. Now, when it came to Opal's mother, she was kicked out of her family for so many different reasons. And the main one, because she got married out of wedlock, but also because the father of her child belonged to a clan that her dad was enemies with. And so unfortunately, she was sent away to go live with her cousins out in the country. And this is where we met Opal's adoptive parents, because they were the ones who had taken in Opal. Now, the reason why they took Opal under their wings is because when it came to Opal's mother, she wanted her daughter to have a life away from all this crime. And so she said, listen, take my child, go to America, and give her a life away from all of this mess, which they did, because as we all know, Opal had no idea that she was adopted. Now, when it comes to Opal's father, unfortunately, he was shot and killed by a different clan trying to come after Opal's grandfather. And so unfortunately, her dad died that night when he was supposed to marry the other woman. And so now we kind of know the entire story of Opal's family's origin. Now, when it comes to Hyro, the reason why he told Opal that story, because he was hoping that now she'll have a better understanding of who her grandfather is, kind of believing that if he told her that story, she'll now believe that he is some good man. Because for her, at least she has the ability to choose her husband. Now, let's not forget that he only gave her 5 choices, but most women in, well, his family, they didn't have that kind of choice. They had one person and their dad chose that person for them. And so Hyro is saying, at least you have the ability to choose out of 5 men that he had provided you, and that includes me. Now, this also begins the process of Hyro and also Opal beginning to get closer to one another in the possibility that they could date down the road. Now, when it comes to Opal, she does try her best to escape, but unfortunately, she is caught by her grandfather. Now, when it comes to her grandfather, he's all like, listen, there's no way that you are going to be able to escape. Like, you're stuck here, and sooner or later, you're gonna have to do things my way. Now, this is the moment where he does find out that she now knows what happened to her parents, what happened to her father. Now, like I said earlier, when it comes to Opal's grandfather, he wanted to make sure that she did not know anything about their past. But now she does. But now he's wondering who told her. And he was able to figure out very quickly that it was Hyro. Now, when it comes to Opal, she now knows that her granddad is going to punish the man or possibly kill the man for telling her the entire story. But she said, listen, the reason why he told me was hoping that I would have a better understanding of who you are and possibly try to begin to work with you to give you what you want. Now, this is Opal, again, beginning to somewhat fall in love with the man and trying to protect the man. Now, when it comes to Hyro, at first, he does get punished for telling the story, but then Iceman attacks the base. Now, with Iceman attacking the base, you didn't have Opal's grandfather say, you know what? I need Hyro's help with the other cyborg samurais to bring down Iceman. And also, because Opal kind of spoke in a way where she tried her best to protect him, that her granddad said, fine, I'll let him live and I will let him continue to help out the other cyborg samurais to bring down Iceman. But like I said, Iceman is there right now attacking the place. Now, when it comes to the other cyborg samurais, they begin to show us that they don't like Hyro at all. And the reason why, because when it comes to Hyro, he gets a whole lot more love from Opal's grandfather than they do. And technically, he is the favorite one out of all of them. And they hate that so much. Now, when it comes to Hyro, he does get attacked by the other cyborg samurais. And the reason why? Because in the last chapter, when it came to Iceman trying to save Opal, well, Hyro had the chance to take Iceman out. But Iceman was now looking at Hyro. And so for Hyro, it's not okay to strike a man from behind like that. It's not a fair way to take someone down. And so because of that, he didn't take down Iceman. But the other cyborg samurais, they saw that. They said, you had the chance to take Iceman down, and you did not do that at all. And so we feel like we should go ahead and take you out. Now, luckily for Hyro, Iceman does appear to help him out to take out the other cyborg samurais. Now, you would think, okay, both men are now going to be on the same side. No. Now, the reason why Hyro won't back down is because technically Iceman is still an enemy, because Iceman is right now trying to get Opal, and right now to do that he has to bring down Lord Tetsuo. And so because Iceman is an enemy of Lord Tetsuo and Hyro works for the Lord, he said, listen, my master is your enemy, which means you're my enemy. So I have to bring you down. And so they do battle. Now, Opal appears, and we could technically say by this point that she loves both men. And right now her goal is to protect both men and try to stop them from fighting each other. But that's the problem though. They can't back down because both men, they both love her. For Hyro, at first, he's saying like, hey, I have to fight Iceman because he is an enemy of my master. But in reality, by this point, he believes if he's able to bring down Iceman, there is a possibility that Opal might be with him. And so now it's two men fighting against each other for her love. Now, the fight does get to the point where you have both men decide to fight without powers, but this is not a fair battle. And the reason why? Because Hyro is a cyborg. He cannot turn off his powers at all. And at first, both men believe that right now they're not using their abilities in this fight. But then Bobby realized that Hyro is just too fast, too strong. How in the world is he so fast and strong? Because he is a cyborg. He can't turn off those parts of him. And so you have Opal say, this is not a fair battle at all. Because Hyro, you're a cyborg. You can't turn off your powers. And so what you're doing right now is not technically fair. You're not having a fair battle. And so because of that, you have Hyro say, wait, you're telling me that I don't have the ability to do what I want to do, that I am now being completely controlled because I'm a cyborg? And she's like, yeah, man, you don't have free will. I mean, you do have a tad bit of free will, but it's very small, and that is it. And so because of that, he stops fighting against Iceman, because right now, this battle is not an honorable battle. And so Hyro walks away, which then allows Opal and Iceman to actually leave. And so this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.